All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to episode 146 of the On Air Advocate. Where at the On Air Advocate, we look to provide education, support, and empowerment for all of those with different abilities, mental and medical illnesses, and their caregivers. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Tammy Flynn, and I am the host and producer of the On Air Advocate. And I am super excited if you are here joining us this morning or whether you are catching this on the replay. Now, as always, if you think any of the content that we are talking about today could be valuable for your network or your circle, please hit the share button and share the love with others. Well, as you guys know, every few weeks we pick a focus series. And today we are kicking off our mental health awareness series, and we are also supporting World Suicide Prevention Day. And so I could think of no two better guests to kick that off today and have so much great content to share with us than Vicki Fitch. She is an author, a speaker, and an inspirationalist. And Dr. Lulu, who is a mama con, a board-certified pediatrician, a best-selling author, an international speaker on child, teen, and young adults for suicide prevention. She is also the CEO of Dr. Lulu's Health Care Center in San Antonio, Texas, and Teen Alive, an online resource for depression for suicide. Welcome, ladies.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for having us, Tammy. Really, really appreciate it.
I'm so excited, Dr. Lulu, to have you back, Vicki, to have you here on the show for the first time to be able to share. And I know that you both had these great titles, but I really, really, really want our audience to know and feel your passion and purpose and mission as to why you're here today. So, Vicki, can you kind of take it away?
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for inviting us. I appreciate it. And thank you, Dr. Lulu, for introducing me to Tammy. National, Suicide Prevention Day is a huge thing. And we know that it's near and dear to my heart. I thankfully have not had anyone that committed suicide, but yet I have family members that have considered it, friends, and there's been an epidemic in our local area. So the NES, the Not Enough Syndrome epidemic, is going around, and my goal is to try and help people recognize their internal value by evicting the bully in their head and saying, hey, you are enough just the way you are. So the You Are Enough Global Initiative is designed to help people find that value internally, and then also to be able to share it externally with those people that have been bullied or are bullying them, because empathy is honestly the key. And so again, I, as an author, an international keynote speaker, and someone that finds this really, really important, this topic, I just thank you so much, Tammy, for bringing us together today so we can bring some awareness and help people recognize that they are enough just the way they are.
I don't think that sometimes people realize in our society what a lack of services,
yes,
community involvement and whatnot is around this. We think that it's there, but it's really not. The more that I dive into it, we just really need to continue building this. And Dr. Lulu, I know from the last times you've been on before, you have such a passion for this and such a mission for it. So can you share?
Of course. Thank you, Tammy, the On-Air Advocate. You are the girl about town. You're definitely making a difference, and I appreciate it. And Vicki, my girl, thank you so much for gracing my pages today. Your episode aired today. So my name is Dr. Lulu, aka the Momatrician, because I'm a mom and a pediatrician. Very simple. And quite frankly, if you cut my skin, I will bleed pediatrics before red blood. I love what I do. I have had a personal history of depression, personal history of suicidal ideation. I've had a personal contact with a patient who died by suicide. I've had a patient who was 7 years old and attempted suicide. And my own personal friend who also died by suicide, my colleague. It's all over the place. I'm not trying to claim it for myself. It's everywhere. So I thought to myself, after my 7-year-old did that, my 7-year-old patient hung himself. He didn't die, thankfully. But I said, what am I doing? What is my purpose? Why am I sitting down, writing penicillin for strep throat when there's a patient out there or a person out there cutting or trying to shoot themselves or shoot up the class because they've been bullied or whatever. So I'm like, why don't I see if I can do my own little bit in my own little corner of the world to make a difference? So I really appreciate this day, this week, this month is really near and dear to my heart. And as a mother who's had a son who struggled with bullying because of his sexual identity and also suicidal ideation as a result of it, honey, you know, if Mama Bird is concerned, then, you know, we're going to go there. So I absolutely appreciate this.
Right.
Thank you.
And really, you know, getting in our society to accept that it's okay to not be okay. You know what I'm saying? No matter what the professional face is, like Dr. Lulu, you're talking about other colleagues and other doctors. You know, this ranges from children to adults. You know, it doesn't discriminate. You know, what age, race, you know, or demographics. So, I know that Vicki, you kind of go from the standpoint of building, you know, that mindset, that positivity. Can you lend a little bit into when you're teaching? Are there some key strategies, you know, that you kind of teach people to invest within themselves, you know, to help that process?
Absolutely. The book I wrote called Evict the Bully in Your Head is designed to, with a 12-step strategy, although it's fun and funny, right? We take serious topics and we blend in humor so it doesn't feel so heavy. You know, we have a character in there called Bobo, and, you know, Bobo tells you to do the bubble bump, you know, and we move people out of our intimacy bubbles where they're causing the most grief, because we tend to, I say there's intimacy bubbles, right? And when we allow strangers yell things at us, it doesn't hurt, you know, because we're like, I don't even know if you're talking to us. But the closer you get to our vulnerability, then the more that hurts us. So if someone, if we're sensitive about our weight and someone that we don't know, you know, from a football field away goes, hey, you're fat or you're ugly, it doesn't affect us the same way. But when someone's closer, a friend or someone we consider that should be an advocate says something to us, it damages our self-esteem. And when our self-esteem gets damaged, then every other attack, every other thing that goes on starts telling us we're not enough, we're not good enough, not smart enough, not thin enough, not whatever enough. And so step one is not today, bully, not today. When we recognize that voice, you know, saying, you know, you are overweight, or someone says, don't eat that. And we start to feel this withdrawn feeling, you know, or like I said, it might be about looks. Children are infamous for accepting responsibility for things that are going on in their homes, for things that are going on at school, for people, you know, pressuring them. So we start with saying, not today, bully. We recognize that it's a bully, you know, whether it's doubt, fear, and shame tend to be the three big bullies, and we need to start rejecting them. So when we start with step one, not today, bully, and we go through those 12 steps of recognizing our own internal value, using some positive affirmations, and having some fun with things that other people either make taboo or that they have identified as insignificant, because we are not insignificant no matter what our feelings are. They came from somewhere, and when we can figure out why and come and put a new light on it, it changes things. Did that answer your question?
Yes, that's what it is. So I was hoping that someone's listening, because, you know, everyone knows that on the On Air Advocate, I don't look at comments till after the show is over.
Okay.
Those little key points you just said. So you said, not today, bully. That's those comments. What were those three things that you just said that you...
The big three bullies?
Yes.
Fear, doubt, and shame are what I call the three big bullies, the big three, because they are the ones that drive most of our insecurities. You know, we're afraid that, you know, of what's happening, that people are judging us. We doubt ourselves and our ability to conquer things. And we have shame about things that may or may not be true, but we've internalized it to the fact that we should, you know, we don't want people to know. When instead, like I commend Dr. Lulu for saying she's had suicidal ideation in the past. You know, she's owning that. She's not pretending that she's helping. She's saying, hey, I am helping, but guess what? I have felt that way too, so I know the impact. So when we bring light to that, and when people can see strong, powerful women or people that are saying, hey, I felt this way too, it gives people hope, and hope is what we really need. So we've got to have that direction.
Right. And Dr. Lulu, as you've been on this mission, and I know that now you've kind of developed this new clinic and whatnot that you're serving, what have you found over the last year to 2 years within this space? Do you feel that awareness is growing? Where do you feel there's still a lack? of that, for help for others, for people in the mental health realm?
Can there be a combination of both? I think it's equal halves. Since I started on June 22nd, 2018 was my very first Facebook Live. Since then, I have been inundated almost on a daily basis, at least on a weekly basis, including my own children tagging me on things on Facebook, on social media about suicide here, homicide here, hate here, there. So I do, in that sense, believe that people now know that there's someone we can go to. I had 2 days ago, a lady sent me a long text from her ex-boyfriend who was suicidal. Someone called me from Nigeria, and I had to talk down a girl from a ledge, literally on a Monday morning. So people are recognizing me. Could that also mean that they are knowing more? Now, that's one. Have they necessarily changed their ways and their mindset about it? I want to say almost no, not yet, because there's this stigma, which in 2016, the WHO mentioned or announced that the stigma of mental health, not the mental health itself, is a global crisis. I'm going to say it again for those at the back. The stigma of mental health is a global crisis. In other words, people still shun people, and people don't want to talk about it. And yes, I do have a clinic that I tend to only the high-risk kids. And every day I get a phone call from a mom of a 4-year-old who wants to bring her 4-year-old. And I have to stay true to what I want to do, my passion, to just say no to her because I know there's a 14-year-old that needs me. So absolutely, there is increasing awareness, but I don't know that it's reflecting in changing of attitudes yet, not quite. I will say that in the summer, there's almost no suicides mentioned. There are some, but not for children because I'm primarily tending towards children, right? Once school starts, enter Vicki's fight, bullying, and then suicides start going up again. And by January, February, the peak of child suicides. So it looks like even the parents that are hearing me are not transmitting the information to their kids yet. They're not telling them what to do. People don't believe their kids are bullies. I had to admit to the fact that my son was a bully. And if I didn't admit that, I wouldn't have made the changes that needed to be made and placed in the home for him to realize, wait, son, what are you doing? And then people outside will now say, well, who is she to talk about that when her own kid is? You know what I mean? So I had to have a very knee-jerk response when I heard even a little bit that my son was a bully, because he's adding to the narrative. And that's exactly what Vicki is fighting, the fact that there are bullies out there. But more importantly, there's a bully inside, the one that goes to bed with you, the one that wakes up in the morning with you, the one that looks like you and sounds like you. And then if you add the external bully to it, we got a problem. We got a problem, Houston.
Right. And do you feel, and maybe Vicki, you could tackle this first, that bullying within, for your category, obviously, I know you speak to some schools too, but I know Dr. Lulu tends more in that pediatric realm a little bit more. Have you seen in the workplace that bullying has gotten better at all, Vicki? Like when you're talking to professionals, and I mean, in that realm, and then Dr. Lulu, I want to wrap back around to you for, the kids part of that for schools. I mean, do you feel like employers are taking that more seriously? Do you feel like the business community is taking that more seriously?
It's a tough question. Do I feel like they're taking it more seriously? I think they're being forced, some of them, and this is not a blanket statement, but this is that, HR departments are making companies take it more seriously, and yet people aren't seeing it as serious. People that haven't been bullied or haven't seen it firsthand or have less empathy for people that are doing it. They don't see the aggressive person that throws sarcasm and callous remarks out as bullying, where the bullied person does. And so, in corporations, I also do, sensitivity training in a fun way, but helping people recognize where the line is being crossed. Because let's face it, society has become so sensitive to everything that people are now mocking things that are legitimate, because they're so much inundated with, you can't do anything anymore because someone's going to be offended. instead of just recognizing the internal value of people and saying, hey, you can constructively identify something without using, because sarcasm is a bully. I mean, a lot of people think, oh, well, that's just my personality. You know what? But sarcasm cuts and sarcasm hurts. You know, you need to use sarcasm really sparingly and in the right crowd. If you don't know someone, sarcasm can be a knife that really penetrates deeply. And so I'd say some companies, but most of the time, and I'm sad to say this, most of the time it's only because they either had a harassment claim.
Yeah.
Right? That's what causes a harassment claim, not because they're internally recognizing, because kind of like what you guys were saying is that people don't consider normal or what they're okay with behavior bullying to some people, when if we just educate them on being sensitive to being kind. I mean, literally, if it's not going to support someone, then don't say it. Find another way to say it, and we can be more communicative with our words. Right. And just to wrap around to kind of tie in where you want to go with Dr. Lulu, you know, my son has Asperger's, and he got bullied relentlessly in school to the point where he had some really intense feelings and was really, really struggling. And my heart was breaking for a long time. And therefore, I have a passion for those kids. And one of the reasons I absolutely love Dr. Lulu is because she and we get it. And we get that pain that comes from not knowing what to do. You can't fix someone. That's why we have to start. The younger they are that we start, the more we can help them establish their own self-esteem, because the people that are bullying in the workplace are children who never got heard and never got their information. And that's why we have to start early. So back over to you, Dr. Lulu.
I catch it. Oh, gosh. Air Advocate, what was your question again? I was
sorry.
I was trying to.
Is that, do you know that in schools and whatnot, obviously they have no bullying projects, they have days, they have partnering. Do you feel like in the school systems, with all these kids that you're seeing, you know, that it has gotten better, that those principals, that those faculty, that those teachers are taking it more seriously, that we're working on kindness on a daily basis, that we're working on accepting people for our differences, you know, and our uniqueness?
Yeah, I wish I could tell you a loud, resounding yes. Not only did Vicki's son walk through fire as a child with special needs, my son was called something that should not even be on air, you know? And then, was it this morning, I got a phone call about a kid who also has Asperger's, I think has autism, and was relentlessly bullied at school to the point that the kid said he doesn't want to go to school again. And the mother has a series of emails that she's been sending to the school. So at least she has a paper trail. You think the school did something? No. And they'll be quick to send thoughts and prayers. So I wish I could tell you right now that yes, the schools have gotten it. However, yesterday I went to my son's high school. After about 35 minutes of talking to the vice principal, I felt better that his school got it. But his own school has had 3 suicides. So it's like, are we getting it or are we not getting it? And case in point, the other day I was running in the neighborhood and I saw about 11 kids. Everyone's eyes were like this on their phone. And I literally ran into the crowd before they saw me, right? And they looked at me like, what's wrong with her? And I took that moment to teach them about just that, you know, the fact that no one sees anybody anymore. They don't see themselves. This, as good as it is, as helpful as it is for us to do this Facebook Live, this is a killer when it comes to kids. And they are not able to tell the difference between reality and perception anymore. When I ran into the crowd and started talking to them about bullying and what to do and what to say, they all kind of got it. And by the end, by the time the school bus came, they were giving me high fives and they wanted to take a picture with me and all that, because I was able to at least touch them in a sense, because they're still able to, like Vicki said, be taught, but not for too long.
Right.
At middle school, so I was able to catch them. The high schoolers didn't think that was funny. Or they might not, I don't know. I haven't run into a group of high schoolers, but I will. But I'm just saying that the younger they are, like Vicki said, the sooner we can start teaching them. And the schools, I want to wish and pray that they hear me. But last year we had Kevin Reese. He lived in Katy. Katy's, I don't know, 3 hours up the road from San Antonio on the way to Houston. He was relentlessly bullied, and they have records in the school of his mom going to the school to complain. When he hung himself, they fired this person and fired that person. And
why do we have to wait for tragedy?
Yeah.
Or we take action?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's...
Now, in Vicki, we can kind of wrap back around to you in your area, and I don't know how much you explore mental health, and then Dr. Lulu, in your area and surroundings of where you live. I have found it shocking, as we have our own mental health issues in in our home, as I feel like we all can benefit from seeing a counselor. I mean,
yeah,
I think that everyone in the world can
have a joint. Yes,
can benefit from talking to someone who is a biased party. So within me exploring that, insurance, not insurance, the long waits, lack of pediatric psychologists, lack of pediatric counselors in general, I have found it shocking is that you have all these people, like when you're in need, right? When you're in deep sadness, when you're thinking those thoughts, we do have some hotline numbers now, right? That you can call in that moment. But if you don't have somebody, supporting you, sometimes if you don't have somebody getting you there, when you do the right thing, like parents, they call right on the phone, they're trying to get an appointment. It's I just got on the phone, 7 weeks for an intake, 7 weeks for an intake, and then another 7 weeks to wait to get the eval. To even get in to see someone. So when you're talking, if somebody is in the midst, especially, parents doing this for their kids or adults, and they're calling, like they actively are thinking they're doing the right thing. And every single door that they get to has a stop on it. Are they really going to continue? Because isn't it hard enough to make the call to begin with? Isn't it hard enough to do it? And then they're like, 14 weeks from now. So I've just found it as such a tragedy. And so I don't know in your areas, but in our area, we have, especially in the young adults and pediatrics, so under the age of 18, we have a very huge deficit of docs that do that end of things. And over, it's still a wait, but it's just not quite as extreme, but it's still a long wait. So I don't know, do you know in your areas how that is, or either one of you can take that first?
Well,
okay. I'm only going to go because you hit the nail on the head, Tammy. The reason I started my practice, the reason I started the particular model of practice that I started, is called direct primary care. And it's a new concept. Uber was new ones, Amazon was new ones, hell, Tesla was new ones. Sometimes you have to come and disrupt that which causes you pain. The one thing you named is the fact that the time is so long that the parents get tired of waiting. You have to first of all, the child has to tell you. If they don't tell you, then you as a parent has to have the perception to dial into your kid's emotions and know your kid is hurting. Then the parent has to pick up the phone and call the doctor, go through the front office, then the back office, then the appointment. Then they get an appointment in about a week or two. Then the doctor's office, they spend an hour waiting for the doctor. The doctor spends 10 minutes in the room. Then another hour to get the appointment, to wait a month or two to see the psychiatrist.
Right.
The pain is so severe. That's why in my practice, and I'm just going to put a non-shameful plug, why not? I have direct, you could call me right now. I won't take it because I'm on air with On Air Advocate. But you can literally call me right now and I'll pick up the phone and we'll talk about your kid right this moment. And no, I don't accept insurance because insurance will not allow me to spend the 2 or 3 hours your kid needs for me to peel the top layer only. And so it is a system that is broken with an accent on the E. It doesn't make any sense. And yet, when I decided to do this thing, a couple of my colleagues were like, are you crazy? Do you want to become a therapist? And I was like, if you think that, then you've missed the point. I don't want to become a therapist. I'm always going to be a pediatrician, but we don't have enough people to do this.
Right.
Otherwise, we won't have such a high rate of suicide. And I'm only going to scratch a tiny little part of San Antonio. You know what I mean? So yes, there's a huge deficit. Over to you, Vicki.
Yeah, well, I agree. I mean, and I can tell you, speaking from a mom of a child with special needs, the deficit is, is the Grand Canyon. I mean, I like, I'll get teary. I took my son to multiple places when he was really going through some stuff. People that said they were specialists told him to do the most unbelievable things. Like, they don't understand. And if you don't understand a child with Asperger's, that they are concrete literal. So if you tell them to do something, or that this is going to feel good, this is what they're going to do, that there's such a lack there. And again, I went to 3 people that said they were specialists, and they were, I rarely say things that are rude, but they were moronic. And I mean that, because it was so tragic, that the trauma that my son went through afterwards. So then I started not wanting to bring him anywhere, because the trauma that was being caused by the people that did see him was worse than what he was going through. And, we've got to fix this. I mean, it's National Suicide Prevention Day, right? And kids that here in my local area, unfortunately, there have been an epidemic of suicides. Groups of 3 kids try to commit suicide. Different things are happening, and 2 of them died and 1 of them didn't. And then a pastor killed himself last year. And I mean, it's terrible. And so, like you were talking earlier, the stigma that's attached. Nobody wants anyone to know that they're feeling bad about themselves, so they all stuff it and pretend they're okay, until the moment that they're just not. And it's overwhelming, and we've got to find more resources like Dr. Lulu. When people say, "Are you crazy?" Yes, I'm crazy enough to believe I can change the world. I absolutely am.
One of us.
And right? That's why the 3 of us are here today, saying, "Hey, yep, own it. Let's step up and stand out. Call us crazy if you want, but let us help."
Hello. Can I add to that? Just a case in point. I think it was last Friday, my son, who is LGBT, sent me a viral tweet about this trans female that was burned alive in her car. I posted that viral video on a group that I'm in that has 17,000 medical personnel, doctors, veterinarians, pharmacists, you name it. And the admin had to cut off comments on it, because some of the providers, the things that they wrote, they are doctors. One of them was like, "What did he do?" And I was like, first of all, if a trans female wishes to be called a she or a her, I need you to respect that. You know what she said to me? She threw back at me. She's Black. She threw back at me and said, "Well, then I'm a Caucasian." And you know what I said? I said, "I'm not going to engage," because there's a level of illiteracy that it's not even worth engaging. But she is a doctor. She's supposed to take care of a child in the future, who knows, who is a trans. And she feels this way. No wonder they don't go to get help. And I don't want to cry, because Tammy, you know me, Vicki, you know me, I'm a crybaby. It doesn't make any sense that even those, I see a picture. There's a book in Nigeria that was written by a guy called Chinua Achebe. It's called Things Fall Apart, and we read it in high school. And there was a movie about it, or a series about it. And one of the last scenes, this little boy who was brought into the family as a ward to be raised or whatever, was supposed to be used as sacrifice, because in Africa, they still have some people that think that way, and they have, sacrifice and all kinds of traditional medicine and all that. So the scene that comes to my head every time is when the little boy got to the oracle and realized he was to be sacrificed. He turned and ran to the man that was his father figure that had raised him, and the guy lifted his hand, lifted the machete, and cut off his head, because he wanted to show that he was a man. I see that every time, because it's like these kids, they run to us, we the providers, the ones that should be non-biased, we took an oath and all that bullshit.com. Excuse me, Tammy. Do you know, if the person comes to you and you have this kind of mindset, then no wonder they don't want to come. No wonder suicide is so high in the LGBT community. No wonder suicide. And you know, if love and God and Jesus was enough, why are we having pastors? A Nigerian pastor killed himself in May. So the point is they've all got it wrong. Jesus and God is perfect. It's great. I love it. I need you to use it to pray to get the right therapist, to get the right family support structure, the right school, the parents that listen to you. And you know what I mean? Like, there's so many levels here. It's not just the providers, it's all of us. And that's why suicide, like Tammy said at the beginning, cuts across race, gender, economic status,
Yep.
you name it.
Yes. And like Vicki was saying, it really comes down to the basics of empathy, you know? You know, I feel like I'm looking at the time, and I feel like we need to do a part 2 of this, because we didn't even.
We have to.
We didn't even.
Yeah, we need to.
Surface, because, you know, Vicki, I know Vicki's just meeting me, but obviously I started the On Air Advocate because I have been a caregiver for over the last 20 years for my son that was born with different abilities, and, you know, and have lived half of our lives in the hospital and with doctors and within that community of being different, I guess, you know what I'm saying, and that acceptance. But
Sure.
you know, I feel now in our world that everyone just doesn't like anything that is a limited edition.
Wait, I'm so using that quote from you.
I'm so stealing it. I love it.
I took it first.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? Instead of embracing the fact that we are different, instead of embracing, you know, this, it's like what things, and I posted on my personal page this morning, one of these things that, you know, just because I can, you know, I look and I sound like it's all good, doesn't mean all the load you're carrying isn't heavy, you know?
Hello.
And,
Hello.
you know, and I think that, you know, for kids and for adults, especially if you are, like some people say, a rock star, and you go out there and you get it done, you put a smile on, it doesn't mean that you can't have sadness.
Amen to that.
That's me. Yes. Yes, sir.
It doesn't mean, and I think that, you know, sometimes when people look at strong people, they're like, they don't know what to do if they say they're sad. And
Isn't that the truth? It's like, whoa, wait a minute. We're not allowed to have bad days.
Dr. Lulu, what do you mean you're depressed? What do you mean you've been suicidal? What do you mean? I said, if I haven't walked my talk, then I'm not authentic. I have walked this talk that I'm talking. I know. I was suicidal to the max. And every day I would drive up and down, those who live in San Antonio, up and down 410, looking for a place where I would drive off, and I would put my convertible roof down so that I wouldn't have anything to stop me. I had to have a seatbelt, but I was like, when I get to that spot, I'll take off the seatbelt because I don't want to be saved. I don't need to go off this bridge and there's a lot of people to save me, because I didn't want, you know what I mean? Like, I needed it to happen. Me, speaking to you, I had to get intense therapy and medication. And the family support that was like the rock of ages. And those 3 things is my trifecta: medication, counseling, and support. Just like you have fear, shame, and I forget his cousin.
Doubt.
I have medication, support, and therapy. Those 3 things work. None of them goes without the other. But of course, it first begins with, I have to accept first that I need help, and then reach out. Right. And I think that's where that wheel is broken, right? You know, within the awareness and within our society, is that when we figure that out and we say that, you know, I'm sad, I think I need help. There's all these barriers. You know what I'm saying? There's just all of these barriers, and to fight through that and to get those appointments and to get the help that's needed, you know, we need to build more awareness. We need to have more doctors out there doing the things that you're doing, Dr. Lulu, you know, that there is that possibility, you know what I'm saying, to get help when you need it. Right now, not next week, not next month, not next year. And I do have to mention here, only because I'm also a parents coach, that my biggest avatar are parents. Not necessarily the teenagers, because like I say all the time, when you were a teenager, Tammy, when you were a teenager, Vicki, what is the one thing that you wanted your parents, what you wanted from your parents, Tammy? What is the one thing that you wanted from your parents? Just take a jab at it. Only for them to listen. One, very good. What about you, Vicki? What was the one thing you wanted from your parents?
Well, I wanted them to believe in me. I wanted their support and to recognize.
Exactly. So I put those 2 words together in one word: valley freaking dation. Your teenagers need you to validate everything, whether they sound silly. Yes, validate it, because it's only 3 seconds you've got, and the kid shuts down.
Mm-hmm.
When they shut down, it's like they're passive. You can't engage anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what it is. Validate it first, because we parents, we've been doing this forever. From the day I was born in 1969, parents have been trying to figure out teenagers. We haven't figured them out. Why? Because we've been going about it the wrong way. And isn't that the definition of insanity?
Mm-hmm.
We're looking for a different response, but we're still judging them and being quick to yell at them. And I don't like that boy that you're dating. How about, rather than I don't like that boy you're dating, tell me about this boy you're dating.
Mm-hmm.
Tell him to me. Tell me what you see in him versus, I don't know what you see in him. You see that?
Mm-hmm. Asking questions. The skill of asking questions is huge in personal and in business. I mean, it transcends gender, race, ethnicity, and, geography. It doesn't matter. When we ask people questions and they can connect and recognize that we actually care. I think in the Inevitable in Your Head, a friend of mine kind of fixed what we call a misnomer, right? We always hear hurt people. And this Dr. Lulu and I talked about that. And one day, his name's Kevin Madison, and he said, no, it's not hurt people that hurt people. And I remember like, what? And he said, hurt people that aren't heard hurt people. And those 3 words changed my perspective. And even the way I wrote some of the things in this book is because he's right, that when we're heard, when we're validated, when we're recognized that no matter how off, our thinking might be, that people are saying, okay, I hear you, but hey, what if we look at it this way? Or have you thought about it this way? Instead of like, what are you thinking? That's not, people feel so much judgment, which again is another bully that attacks us, that we need to ask questions and develop that skill so people feel valued. So when they can tell us why they're hurting or why they're upset or angry, we can help communicate and fix it.
And I think in leaving that door open, another post that was out there, for today was that you never can ask, how are you, too many times. It takes, now that we have technology, it takes 3 seconds to send someone a text message. It's, you know what I'm saying? Or a direct message, or a phone call on the phone, or just reach out. And for so many people, you may think, oh, they're just busy. No one's too busy for you to send them a how are you, to accept it or receive it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just think that so much of that empathy too has gone away. Asking the questions, to hear people's responses, to validate, where they are and all of that. So I think from the child perspective, from the business perspective, from the caregiver, because that could be a whole nother topic of mental caregivers, and all of that. I would love to do this again with you guys and take some of those topics and dive a little deeper into them. But right now, in our wrap up, you both are so awesome. I just want you to kind of share where people can reach you, get in touch with you, learn more about your organizations, your books, all of that. So Vicki, if you want to start first.
Absolutely. Yeah, I want to make sure I didn't turn my volume off again. You can reach me at VickiFitch.com. It's VICKIFITCH.com. There's a lot of information there about the You Are Enough Global Initiative, about my 12 books, 12 months series. The series was written to help people become the best version of themselves, starting from, your entrepreneurial vision to your mindset. I call it the M3 philosophy of money, mindset, and motivation. The 3 things that help carry us through and make us feel successful in life is, recognizing that internal value and be able to express it externally. So you can reach me on all social media platforms at Vicki_Fitch or at Vicki Fitch. I call it the curse of the underscore. I have underscores in a few places, but I would love to connect. And if people have schools, hospitals, even prisons, organizations, Fortune 500 companies that need, empathy and need some sensitivity training that isn't boring. Because I know we didn't get a chance to see personalities here, but I promise you, I am definitely not a boring speaker. And we have to help people recognize what's happening in ways that make sense to them, and that we can have a little fun and really get to the heart of things instead of allowing people to continue disregarding that. And again, schools are my heart. The You Are Enough Global Initiative. Please help me, to connect there. We've got some great promo stuff coming out for the anti-bullying month. Next month is anti-bullying month, and I would love to connect with you maybe on that as well. So thank you so much for the invite today.
Thank you. And Dr. Lulu.
So before I say that real quick, there's something you mentioned early on, and I know we're looking at time, but one of the guests on my podcast, which by the way, Tammy, you're next on my podcast. One of the guests on my podcast, she said something that I won't forget soon. She said, it is easier for people to say yes than I need help. And I thought that was so powerful. And she was referring to the fact that people should ask, just like you said, ask people, are you doing okay? Are you hurting? It's easier for me to say, yes, I'm actually hurting, versus, Vicki, I need, you know what I mean? Like if I was to initiate it, it's going to be harder than if I just, you initiate it and I'm like, yes, oh wow, Vicki, yes, I'm actually not doing so well. So that in mind, I am pretty much everywhere. My first book is called How to Raise Well-Rounded Children. It's on Amazon and on my website. And my second book is called It's a Teen Life. It's coming out this month. I can't wait. It's called A Teen Life, yes. And it talks about teens and their lives. It's actually letters from teens to me. And then, of course, I'm on Facebook as my first name and my last name. My podcast is huge. We got 1,000 downloads. Can you believe it, Vicki?
Woo!
Suicide Pages with Dr. Lulu, the podcast. Just Google Dr. Lulu, Google Suicide Pages, and you will find us on 10 different platforms. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, you name it. But mostly I know what I'm doing on Facebook. The rest of them, I don't know what I'm doing.
I'll teach you, Dr. Lulu.
But it has been superb. You know, it's funny when you throw the energy into the atmosphere, into the world. You never know when it comes back as a boomerang. I said to Vicki, we need to do stuff together. And I didn't think this was going to happen. And I said to the On Air Advocate a year ago, I said, girl, I need to come back. But then when you plant the seeds, you just never know. And then boom, here it is. And we're coming back again next month. We're already inviting ourselves, Tammy. We're coming in with that as well. And I've had so much fun. This has been fantastic. Thank you for the work that you do, Tammy. Thank you for the work that you do, Vicki.
Thank you.
Thank you for the work that you do, Dr. Lulu, because, I am good enough.
Amen, sister.
So much. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
When we wrap up, if you guys are able to, when we head off, answer any questions that are in the comments for the folks
Yes.
if they dropped anything, and then also all of your links below in the comments.
Can I say one last thing, Tammy, I forgot, is that I actually am doing, for anybody who's local here in Southern California, I'm doing a book signing of A Vic the Bully in Your Head and a reading. So bring your kids to Barnes & Noble here in Chino Hills at the shops on Saturday, September 21st from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. I'll be doing a reading that's fun and funny, but I promise it will impact your kids and the adults, but bring them. It will help suicide prevention. It will help them start to recognize their internal value and not to allow other things to affect them. So I'd love to meet them.
Do you have like a flyer or something like
I
that?
do.
Drop below. Okay.
Yes.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right. So you guys, when we head off, all the links and everything will be then below in the comments so that everybody can know where to go to find you two awesome ladies. So I want to thank you both very, very much for being my kickoff for World Suicide Prevention Day. And this whole entire week is National Suicide Prevention Week. So, get out there and in your own ways. And even if that is you just reaching out to someone,
Today.
text message for 2 seconds and saying, how are you? How are things going? What's been going on? 2 seconds of that, or whether it's that you do a walk, there's tons of walks going on around the United States that you can get involved in. So many different ways. We would love for you guys to participate. And stay tuned, because in about a half an hour, I will be back on with Andy Riggs, who is one of our local guys here that is on our radio, but he is passionate about suicide prevention. And you ladies, I hope you both are able to jump on and catch that interview as well. So with that, if you guys want to know anything more about the On Air Advocate, you can head on over to onairadvocate.com and you'll You'll find everything there. If you want to become part of our private community, head up to the top of this Facebook page, hit the blue button, and that will let you into our private group. So on that, you guys have a fabulous Tuesday. Thanks so much, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.